So right at the start of the story, we see this high school student, and she's writing her name and date of birth directly onto the wall of a room. Right after that, she starts recording a video on her phone, crying her eyes out, saying that if you write your name and birthday and ask for a wish, it actually comes true. Then, she says something that just chills you to the bone. My wish is that all of you people die. Now, this girl wasn't playing some sick joke. She asked for this with a truly broken, miserable heart. And then, right there on camera, she brutally cuts her own throat with her own hands. Who exactly was this girl anyway? And what on earth drove her to make such a terrifying decision? Well, we're gonna find out soon enough. Cut to many years later, and the scene changes completely. We meet a girl named Saya, who's getting ready for school just like any other ordinary day. Saya is a seriously talented athlete, and she lives with her aunt because, tragically, her parents passed away when she was just a kid. Now there's this guy named Konu who lives on the floor right above her. He's in her class, and as it turns out, he's also her boyfriend. So naturally, the two of them walk to school together every morning. On their way, they bump into their group of friends. First, there's Nari. She's incredibly rich, and she secretly has a massive crush on Konu, but she just can't bring herself to tell him. Then there's Choi, man. Choi is always lagging way behind in his studies and constantly doing childish things. Because of that, Nari honestly can't stand him. But the rest of the crew pretty much looks at him like a goofy younger brother. They have another close friend at school named Hajun, who happens to be an absolute tech genius. The teacher walks into the classroom and announces that the test results are finally in, and the top 2 students in the entire grade are right here in this room. The number 1 spot, completely unsurprisingly, goes to Hajun, so everyone claps and cheers for him. But the second spot? It went to Choi. Yeah, Choi himself laughs nervously. Hearing his name, literally every single kid in that room was completely floored. And honestly, Choi looked just as shocked as the rest of them, considering he usually comes dead last on every single test. But this time, he somehow pulled off a miracle. So later on during lunch, his friends immediately corner him like, okay, come on, tell the truth, you totally cheated on the exam, didn't you? But then, he tells them about this strange thing called the Grigo app. He claims that this specific app actually fulfills your deepest wishes. Of course, nobody buys into this absolute nonsense. Still, Konu pulls out his phone anyway and starts searching for the app on the Play Store. Seeing this, Choi stops him and says, bro, you're not gonna find it there. Instead, he sends a direct link to the whole group chat. Konu, feeling a bit excited and curious, goes ahead and downloads the app. But the second it installs, the phone's front-facing camera suddenly snaps open on its own. That's when Choi explains the rules. Look, you just write your name and birth date on a piece of paper, record your wish into the app, and after a little while, boom, your wish comes true. He adds, that's exactly how I wished to top the class. Now, Choi was already known for pulling ridiculous stunts, so hearing this wild story, everyone just laughs right in his face and walks away, leaving him there. But the second they walk away, a creepy digital timer suddenly starts ticking down on Choi's phone screen. He just shrugs it off, thinking, maybe that's just the cooldown timer before I can ask for my next wish. Now, as it happens, Choi's birthday was coming up in just a few days. Because of that, the group was secretly putting together a plan to throw him a big surprise party. Well, except for Nari, who didn't have even a single ounce of excitement for his birthday. In fact, she turns to Saya and complains, ugh, that guy is such an idiot, why do you guys even tolerate half the stuff he does? She's right in the middle of talking trash about him when, speak of the devil, Choi walks right up to them. Nari panics and instantly covers her tracks, lying straight to his face. Oh, we were just talking about giving you a huge surprise for your birthday. Hearing that, Choi's face lights up, and he gets incredibly happy. Anyway, after that, we cut to Saya, who's out on the field, practicing her long jump. She's a phenomenal athlete, so she clears a really impressive distance, but when Konu tries his run, he completely wipes out and falls flat on his face. The coach walks over, looking stern, and warns him, look, you need to start working a whole lot harder, otherwise I'm kicking you right off this team. Seeing him down, Saya steps in and gives him a sweet motivational pep talk to cheer him up. Later that evening, the coach calls Saya over with some huge news. She's officially been selected for the national team, but this means she'll have to start intense, specialized training over the weekends. Saya is thrilled and promises, Coach, I am going to put my entire life into this. Meanwhile, back inside the school during evening study hours, Choi's phone suddenly rings. He picks it up, and it's a call coming from Saya's number, but on the other end, he hears her talking to her other friends, saying some incredibly mean things. He hears her voice say, ugh, we shouldn't even bother going to that idiot Choi's birthday. We really shouldn't waste our precious time going to that loser's party. Hearing those words, Choi felt absolutely crushed. and his heart just sank. He slams the phone down and hangs up immediately, but then, sitting there in disbelief, he decides to call her right back just to confirm if he really heard what he thought he heard. But here's the terrifying part. Saya's phone was actually locked away inside her gym locker the entire time, and she was outside, completely focused on her practice. In reality, Saya hadn't made that phone call at all. Later that evening, Saya meets up with Konu and excitedly tells him the massive news that she's officially been selected for the national team. To celebrate this awesome achievement, the two of them head back to Saya's house and start throwing a little chicken party. But right in the middle of having fun, Saya glances down at her phone and notices that Choi had left a whole bunch of missed calls. Naturally, she dials him back and asks, "Hey, did you try calling me?" On the other end, his voice sounds incredibly sad and heavy as he says, "You're the one who called me first. And wait, are you seriously not coming to my birthday party?" Saya awkwardly admits that, yeah, it's true, because her intense special training is scheduled for that same weekend. The second he hears this, Choi just abruptly hangs up the phone on her. Saya is left sitting there completely baffled, thinking to herself, how on earth did he already find out that she wasn't going to make it to his party? Seeing her stressed, Konu decides to mess around with that weird app, so he writes his name and birth date on a piece of paper and starts recording a wish. He says, "I wish that Saya's training for this week gets completely canceled, that is my wish." Now they were totally doing all of this just as a joke to lighten the mood, but the very next morning, when the two of them leave for school, something feels off because they didn't bump into a single one of their friends on the way. No Nari, no Choi, nobody. The moment they walk into the classroom, Saya spots Choi, and the sight sends a shiver down her spine. He's slumped over his desk with his head down, clutching his phone in a death grip, and he's staring blankly into the corner of the room with this utterly terrifying expression on his face. Right then, looking closely at his phone screen, the creepy countdown timer only has 3 minutes left. Suddenly, something deeply disturbing starts happening to his body, and his muscles begin stiffening up violently on their own. Out of nowhere, he pulls out a sharp blade and starts frantically trying to end his own life. Everyone in the room panics and rushes over, screaming and trying their absolute best to hold him back and stop him. But Choi is just shrieking at the top of his lungs, desperately telling something to stay away from him, except, whatever it is, absolutely nobody else can see it. The very second the timer hits 0, Choi brutally slits his own throat with his own hands. Saya desperately scrambles over, trying to apply pressure to stop the blood from gushing out, but it's completely useless, he's gone. That's when the horrifying truth hits them. Once you ask this app for a wish, a literal death timer begins, and the moment that clock runs out, the person who made the wish dies. In the middle of all this chaos, Saya's mind flashes back to her past, back to when her parents died, and she first transferred to this school. Back then, all the other kids were cruel, whispering and saying horrible things about her behind her back. But then, 4 specific classmates stepped up, helped her through the trauma, and actually made her feel human again. Those exact 4 kids became her closest, most special friends in the world, and today, one of them just violently left this world right in front of her eyes. The sheer grief of losing such a good friend was written all over everyone's faces. When Saya goes to meet with her coach, the coach gently tries to comfort her, saying, "Look, you need to take care of yourself right now, just go home and get some rest, and don't you worry about your training for now." Suddenly, a wave of pure terror washes over Saya as she remembers. Konu made a wish to cancel her training last night, which means the wish actually came true. Completely panicked, she begs the coach, "Please, please do not cancel the training. I swear I'm fine." But right as the words leave her mouth, a massive, heavy piece of iron structure breaks loose from the ceiling and crashes down violently, barely missing them both in a horrifyingly narrow escape. Right at that exact moment, a chilling notification pops up on Konu's phone, reading, "Your wish has been fulfilled." Saya comes running to him at full speed, breathless, and frantically asks, "Please tell me a timer hasn't started on your phone." But she looks down, and her worst nightmare is confirmed. A 24-hour countdown has just begun on Konu's screen. Now, the very app they were laughing at just a day ago, they completely, terrifyingly believe in it. But June, trying to think logically, rips the SIM card out of the phone and does a full factory reset, desperately hoping it will kill the timer. They try to rationalize it, thinking that maybe some twisted hacker took over the phone and is pulling a sick prank. But Saya cuts right through the noise, crying out, "How can someone literally take a human life just by hacking into a phone?" Meanwhile, Nari is still in deep denial, refusing to believe that Choi actually died because of some stupid mobile app. In her anger and fear, she actually starts lashing out and fighting with Saya. Saya, trying to keep it together, calms her down and says through tears, "We are all absolutely terrified right now. I already lost my parents, and now I've lost a friend. I cannot bear to lose anyone else. When Hajun finally boots the phone back up, their hearts collectively sink. The app is still right there, entirely undeleted, and that horrific timer hasn't stopped ticking down for a second. Konu, completely losing his mind, yells, "Why don't we just smash this piece of garbage phone to pieces?" Hajun shakes his head grimly and says, "Honestly, breaking it probably won't do anything to stop this. I need time to dig into the actual technical background and code of this app." Seiya, trying to keep everyone safe, tells them, "Okay, let's all meet up at my house later this evening." A bit later, while Konu is trying to rest at his place, his phone suddenly rings. He answers it, and to his horror, it's Seiya's voice on the line, but she's saying some absolutely disgusting, awful things about him. Terrified and confused, he sprints as fast as his legs can carry him straight over to Seiya's house. He bursts through the door and frantically tells her, "Look, someone is literally using your exact voice to talk to me on the phone." But right as he says it, the call mysteriously cuts off. Then, Seiya suddenly remembered something crucial. She had actually gone over to Choi's house earlier to give him a gift and apologize, just to tell him face to face that she wouldn't be able to make it to his birthday party. And during that visit, Choi had confessed to her that something completely bizarre had happened to him too. He said someone was calling him using her exact voice, even though it wasn't Seiya at all. After remembering this, the whole group finally gathers back at her house to figure out a plan. Hajun hooks Konu's phone up to his laptop and starts completely wiping all of its data. The process was taking a bit of time, but they were all secretly praying that this would finally kill the horrific timer. But right then, out of nowhere, Konu's eye starts burning like crazy. He starts scratching at his eye violently with his own hands, tearing at it until it turns a horrifying blood-red color. Suddenly, his face contorts in pure terror. He sees something standing right there in the room, and he begins shaking uncontrollably, pointing into the empty space and screaming at everyone to look. For some strange reason, Nari looks over at the empty spot and gets instantly, utterly terrified. Then, right before their eyes, Konu's hand completely stiffens up, locking into place as it starts moving toward his own eyes entirely on its own. You see, Konu was staring directly at a malevolent spirit, an invisible entity that absolutely nobody else in the room could see. In a matter of seconds, Konu's condition takes a horrific turn for the worse. Blood begins pouring out of his eye and his mouth. That evil spirit was completely overpowering his body. Panicking, Seiya immediately dials 911 to get an ambulance to the house as fast as possible. Hajun rushes in, desperately trying to hold him down and restrain him. But by this point, Konu was entirely under the twisted control of that entity. He violently slaps Seiya across the face, and then, gripping Hajun tightly by the throat, he literally lifts him off the ground and hangs him in the air. Meanwhile, Nari is just backing away into the corner, completely frozen in fear, holding her phone up and recording a video of the entire nightmare. Konu was just seconds away from choking the life out of Hajun when Seiya, acting on pure survival instinct, grabs the laptop from behind and smashes it right over Konu's head, knocking him instantly unconscious. Later, after he's rushed to the hospital, Seiya is left drowning in guilt. Konu just won't wake up, and she is utterly convinced that she caused this because she hit him so hard with the laptop. As it turns out, Seiya's aunt actually works as a doctor at that very hospital. She pulls Seiya aside and gently comforts her, saying, "Sweetie, please don't torture yourself. I will personally watch over Konu and make sure he's taken care of." Right after this, Nari approaches Seiya and asks, "Hey, do you need anything at all? Do you want me to run back to your place and grab some of your stuff?" Seiya shakes her head and says, "No, it's okay. My aunt already brought over everything I need. But hey, your bag is still over at my house. My front door password is just my birth date, so feel free to go over whenever you want and grab it." Meanwhile, Hajun was still frantically digging into his computer, trying to uncover the truth behind the app, when his phone suddenly rings. It's his sister, and what she tells him chills him to the bone. She warns him that they have accidentally awakened an ancient dark spirit. See, Hajun's sister is actually a powerful shaman, and she has just sensed a massive, looming danger surrounding them. She explains that this app isn't just a glitch, it's a literal living curse, and every time someone downloads it, the curse spreads further. She demands that Hajun come to her location immediately so she can help them, because due to her spiritual state, she can't leave her sanctuary. Back at the hospital, Konu's vitals are crashing, and his condition is getting worse by the second. Driven by absolute desperation to save the boy she loves, Seiya pulls out her phone, installs the dreaded Grigo app, and records a wish. She begs, "Please, let Konu go back to normal and be completely fine again. That is my wish." Hajun comes bursting through the hospital doors, sprinting to stop her because his sister had explicitly warned him about the danger. But he's too late. She had already submitted the wish. Seiya turns to him, her eyes wide, and whispers, "Hajun, whoever asks for a wish is forced to see an invisible power, that horrifying thing was at the school, and it followed us to my house too. I need to see this entity. It's the only way we'll ever figure out what we're actually fighting against." Right at that exact moment, Konu suddenly snaps awake, completely conscious and totally fine, but down on Saya's lap, a brand new 24-hour death timer lights up on her phone screen. Hajun panics and yells, "We have to leave for my sister's place right this second. She is the only person alive who can save us now." Saya looks at him, confused, and asks, "Wait, I thought you said your sister lived abroad?" Hajun looks down, embarrassed, and admits, "No, I was just ashamed to tell anyone the truth. She gave up a perfectly good, respectable corporate job to become a shaman, basically a witch doctor." Without wasting another second, the two of them sprint out and head toward his sister's house, which is hidden deep in the dead center of a dense, dark forest where no actual roads even lead. When they finally arrive outside the eerie property, Hajun stops Saya and warns her, "Listen, there's a man who guards this house. He never lets me see my sister, and he never lets her step a single foot outside. He claims that if she ever leaves this perimeter, my sister will die." Just then, the front gate creaks open, and the guard steps out, a man named Kim. The second Kim sees Hajun. He playfully calls him brother-in-law, which Hajun visibly cringes at and completely hates. As Kim guides them deep inside the house, Saya's phone suddenly rings. It's Konu. He sounds perfectly healthy on the line, saying, "Hey, I'm completely fine now. Where did you go? Just tell me where you are and I'll come meet you right now." Saya breathes a sigh of relief and is just about to type out or tell him the location, when suddenly, Hajun's sister, Sohee, comes bursting into the room. She screams at the top of her lungs, "Do not answer him!" But it was already too late. It wasn't Konu on the line at all, but that exact same evil spirit, using his voice, trying to violently overpower Saya's mind. In a split second, Saya's entire body goes completely rigid and stiffens up, and within moments, she is totally possessed and under the entity's dark control. But Sohee, using her spiritual strength, somehow manages to restrain her, and she immediately begins frantically preparing a ritual to tear Saya out from the clutches of that horrific spirit. Sohee immediately made Hajun sit down in a separate room and firmly told him, "Listen to me. Until Kim explicitly tells you to come out, you do not step a single foot out of this room." Right after that, she begins the intense ritual to drive away the malicious ghost. As the process starts, she takes a sacred thread and tightly ties Saya's hand directly to her own hand, and by chanting her powerful spells, the two of them suddenly plunge straight into the twisted world of that entity. Over there, Saya's eyes suddenly snap open, and Sohee is right beside her, whispering, "Do not fear, okay? This is me. You are officially inside the cursed world of that spirit right now, and to get out of here alive, you will have to cross 3 doors with me." Back in the real world, Kim lights a special incense stick to activate the first door, and the moment he does, violently strong winds start blowing and howling through the room. So he takes her holy knife and slices a protective line into the air around them, and almost instantly, the chaotic winds become completely calm. Deep inside that spirit world, Sohee looks at Saya and warns her with absolute seriousness. "Listen, once you go inside that door, you absolutely cannot turn back and look behind you. If you do, that entity will see me too, and the protective doors I've built will instantly disappear. For your protection, I've tied this sacred thread onto your wrist, but even so, you will have to walk this path completely alone, and it is not going to be easy at all." With that final warning, Saya steps through the first door, and suddenly finds herself standing inside her high school, completely and utterly abandoned. She switches on a flashlight, its beam cutting through the pitch-black hallway, and she slowly moves forward through the dark school, taking special care not to turn her head back for even a second. But just then, she spots Choi, completely covered in dripping blood, and right in front of her eyes, the exact same horrific scene plays out just like it did on that awful day at school. It was a chilling revelation. That evil spirit was the one making Choi do all of those terrible things when he killed himself. But here, Choi's ghost keeps begging her over and over again, crying out, "Save me! Please, Saya, I don't want to die." Terrified and desperate for an escape, Saya sprints to the nearest window and flings it open, but when she looks out, she sees her own reflection staring back at her from every single floor of the building, meaning there is absolutely nowhere to run. Right at that moment, Choi appears directly in front of her face, and starts brutally cutting his own throat all over again. But Saya takes a deep, trembling breath and realizes this isn't actually Choi, it's just the spirit trying to weaponize her fear against her. Controlling her terror, she pushes past him and runs as fast as she can, and suddenly, the school completely vanishes, and the second path opens up right before her. Outside, Kim lights another incense stick to unlock the second path. This time, Saya materializes onto a dark, deserted road, where a horrific car accident had just taken place. She tentatively walks closer to the wreckage, and her heart completely shatters. It's her dad's car. This was her ultimate trauma. Years ago, when Saya was just a kid traveling with her parents, they had a catastrophic accident where both of her parents died, leaving her as the sole survivor. Seeing the gruesome, mangled bodies of her mother and father lying there, Saya collapses and starts crying hysterically. But somewhere deep down, she reminds herself that this is just another cruel illusion meant to paralyze her with fear, so she forces herself to stand up and start walking. Suddenly, the bloody hand of her mother reaches out, tightly catching her leg and begging her to stop. Her mother's voice sounds so sweet and full of love, speaking tender words to her daughter, tearing Saya's heart apart. In her mind, Sohee's voice echoes urgently, telling her to move forward. "Saya, we have very little time left." The gate is about to close. Back in the real world, Kim panics and tells Sohee, "It's too dangerous. Nothing can save her now. I'm pulling you both out right now." But Sohee refuses, yelling, "If I absolutely have to, I will remove my ritual mask and go in to help her myself." Now, if Sohee actually removed her mask, she would be completely exposed and get permanently trapped in that nightmare world herself. But Saya hears the sheer urgency in her voice, and blocking out her mother's cries, she breaks away and sprints madly toward the closing gate. The very second she leaps through the gate, her eyes snap open, she blinks, and right in front of her, Kim and Hajun are sitting there, breathing a massive sigh of relief. They both smile and say, "Oh, thank God. Thank God you made it back safe and sound." Saya lets out a breath, genuinely believing for a second that she had actually saved herself. But then, she hears Sohee's disembodied voice echoing in the air, saying, "Saya, don't move, this is actually the third trial you have to cross." The illusions of Kim and Hajun lean in closer, their faces twisting, and they whisper, "That spirit followed you all the way back here. It's standing right behind you." "Is it behind you? Just look and tell us." Sohee's voice screams in her ear, "Do not listen to them. It's a trap. I am not actually there either, so do not turn back and look." But the way Kim and Hajun were moving and talking, they looked and sounded absolutely 100% real. The fake Hajun and Kim look at her in anger and say, "You have to look behind you right now. Otherwise, Sohee's life is going to be in grave danger." Saya is trapped in a psychological nightmare, completely unable to discern what is real and what is a fake trick. Suddenly, the fake Hajun's body starts violently stiffening up and bleeding, exactly like what happened to Konu. Saya panics, crying out, How are you able to see that invisible power too?" The fake Hajun gasps for air and says, "To save your life, I had to ask the app for a wish too." Horrified and completely desperate to save her friend, Saya loses her resolve under the intense pressure and whips her head around to look behind her. The moment she turns, the evil spirit instantly spots Sohee's location, and the sacred thread tied around Saya's wrist violently snaps apart. Back in the real room, Sohee violently coughs up a spray of dark blood. Seeing the ritual collapse, Kim instantly forces open the literal third door, sending Saya plunging into a terrifyingly dark abyss where the floor is completely flooded with thick, pooling blood. As she cautiously wades a little further into the dark, dozens of bloody, mangled corpses suddenly drop from the ceiling, hanging all around her in mid-air. Suddenly, blood starts gushing out of Saya's own nose, because since the thread broke, her very life force was now directly connected to that evil spirit. Just when all hope seems lost, Sohee appears at the absolute perfect moment, violently breaking the spiritual connection and slamming Saya back into consciousness. Gripping Saya tightly, Sohee screams, "We have to run!" and pulls her toward the final exit gate. Right then, the massive, monstrous spirit launches a vicious attack at them, but Sohee throws herself in the way, shielding Saya, and together they dive across the threshold, tumbling back into the real world. The moment they hit the floor, the horrific death timer on Saya's phone completely stops ticking. Sohee, pale and exhausted, looks at her and pants. "The danger hasn't completely averted yet. We just managed to break the thread that was connecting you to that world. To make everything right and save everyone, we are going to have to find a way to end this curse once and for all." Meanwhile, back at the hospital, Nari arrives to check on things. The doctor greets her with some good news, saying that Konu's condition is completely stable now, and adds, "If you want, you can go right on in and meet him." Once she's inside, Nari actually pulls out her phone and shows Konu that exact video she had recorded. You know, the terrifying one from that night, when the evil spirit completely took over his body. Cut back to the sanctuary, where Sohee is breaking down the dark truth to the rest of the group. She explains that this twisted app is the work of a deeply cursed spirit, an entity completely consumed by a burning desire for revenge. She tells them that to put an end to this nightmare, they have to destroy the exact object from which the curse originally started. Then, she looks directly at Saya and says, Do you remember that specific phone your spiritual thread was connected to while you were crossing the very last door? You are going to have to find that exact phone and bring it back to me, and you are the only one who can do this, because you are the only one still connected to that spirit world. Anyway, later that night while Saya was sound asleep, a terrifying nightmare begins. A rain of pure blood starts pouring down on her. Saya instantly sits straight up in bed, paralyzed with fear, because standing right in front of her is a high school student whose throat has been brutally cut. This ghostly figure slowly, creepily glides toward Saya and points a single finger toward the space behind her. The second Saya looks behind her back, another malicious girl jumps out and tries to violently kill her. Right at that exact second, Saya's eyes snap wide open and she finds herself lying safely in her bed. So he is sitting right there in front of her, watching over her. Saya, still trembling, tells her, "I saw a girl's spirit right in front of me, and there was another one hiding right behind her. It completely terrified me." Hearing this, Sohee's face turns dead serious as she realizes the truth. There aren't just one, but actually two separate spirits driving this entire curse. After this discovery, Saya prepares to head out with Kim and Hajun to uncover the dark truth. Before they leave, Sohee ties a sacred protective thread around Saya's wrist and warns her, "As long as this thread stays intact on your hand, you will be safe. But if it snaps, you have to turn around and come back to me immediately." Kim nods confidently, assuring her, "Don't you worry, as long as I am out there with them, nothing bad is going to happen to these kids." Now the truth was that Sohee physically could not step foot outside of that house. Only Kim knew the real dark reason why she was trapped there, but he keeps it a total secret and doesn't tell the kids a single thing about it. However, he looks at Hajun and makes a solemn promise that whatever it takes to finally free his sister from that place, he will get it done. Anyway, the team gets straight to work, digging through Choi's laptop to find any clues about where on earth he first discovered this evil app. That's when they find something interesting. Just a day before the big exam, Choi was incredibly active on the Discord app, which is a popular social interaction platform. Right while they are looking at it, an incoming call from an unknown boy pops up on the screen. Hajun answers the call, and the boy on the other end immediately starts shouting at Choi, yelling about where he's been missing for so many days. Hajun quickly mutes his microphone, types out a fast message pretending to be Choi, and sends it, "Sorry man, I've just been really busy with my studies." The boy texts back instantly, saying, "Bro, literally everyone over here is talking and saying that you're dead." He follows it up with, "Listen, that thing you asked me to bring? I found it. Let's meet up at our usual old spot in exactly 1 hour, okay?" And then he abruptly hangs up the phone. The group is left staring at each other because they have absolutely no clue where this old spot is. Thinking fast, Hajun pulls up Choi's Google account and traces his location history, tracking down the specific coordinate where Choi used to go the maximum number of times. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, Konu had become completely fine and was officially discharged. He goes straight from the hospital ward over to Saya's house, but to his surprise, Nari is already inside the apartment. She acts casual and says, "Oh hey, I just came by to grab some necessary items for Saya, but honestly, she was looking quite scared earlier." Konu nods, but his mind is elsewhere. He starts frantically searching the place for his phone. But even after tearing the entire house apart, his phone is nowhere to be found. Now here is the twist. Remember that night when Saya trusted Nari and told her the front door password? Well, that very same night, Nari had secretly snuck into the house and stolen Konu's phone. Since his physical phone is missing, Konu decides to use Nari's phone to watch that terrifying video from the spirit attack again, hoping that maybe his phone might be visible somewhere in the background of the footage, but he doesn't spot a single thing. Cut back to the rest of the crew, who are waiting anxiously at the tracked location for the unknown boy to show up. The moment the boy finally walks into view, Kim rushes out alone to ambush and catch him. But the kid panics, slips right out of his grip, and takes off running at full speed. Thankfully, Saya is an elite athlete and is incredibly good at running. She chases him down through the streets completely on her own, and in the end, she corners him and catches him. She immediately corners him and interrogates him about those strange pills Choi had been popping for the past few days. The boy raises his hands, terrified, and stammers, "Look, I am not a drug dealer, I swear. Those are just simple pills to help reduce stress." Saya glares at him and snaps, "You're the one who sent the link for that app to Choi, aren't you? You knew damn well that after he asked for a wish, it would kill him." Hearing this, the boy goes completely pale with fear. He frantically defends himself, saying no, Choi was the one who saw that online post talking about the app in the first place. It was just a creepy viral post that had a ghost story about our school written on it. I had absolutely no idea something this horrific could actually happen. He goes on to explain the legend. Many years ago, a crazy shaman's daughter used to study at our school, Everyone says this curse must have been created by that very same shaman. Literally the whole school knows about this legend, and on that viral post, they had printed the photos of two specific girls named Siwon and Hae-young. Hajun immediately logs back into Choi's laptop and digs deep into the cache memory, managed to recover a deleted photo. The boy takes one look at the screen, points, and confirms it, saying the girl on the left is Siwon, and the girl on the right is the shaman's daughter, Hae-young. The group immediately demands to know the location of this shaman's old house. The boy shakes his head and says, "Look, I know the general neighborhood and area, but I don't know the exact house." Without wasting a single second, the group sets out to hunt down the property. Seiya stays quiet, thinking back to the two distinct girls she saw in her terrifying dream, realizing there must be a direct spiritual connection between them and this place. When they finally arrive at the mysterious location, Kim turns to the kids and gives them strict orders. "You two need to look around and find a house that has a specific kind of shamanic flag placed over it, but do not, under any circumstances, enter that house straight away. Call me first." With that, they split up and begin their hard search for the house. But even after putting in an immense amount of hard work, they can't find a single house with that flag. Slowly, darkness falls, night sets in, and they are all completely exhausted. They decide to stop by a nearby neighborhood shop, where the elderly landlady takes one look at Kim's tough face and panics, thinking to herself, "Oh great, has the goon who collects rent finally come?" Kim approaches her calmly and asks, "Excuse me, we've heard that a great shaman used to live in this exact area with her daughter. Can you tell us where her house is located?" The old grandmother looks at them suspiciously and asks, "Are you friends of her daughter?" The group pulls out the cache photo, shows it to her, and asks, "Is this girl right here her daughter?" The grandmother looks closely, shakes her head, and reveals a shocking truth. She points and says that the girl on the left is actually the shaman's daughter, not the one on the right. In that instant, the pieces click together. She isn't Hae-young at all. Siwon is the actual daughter of the shaman. Anyway, after learning this, they quickly buy some holy salt from the shop and head straight over to the locked, abandoned property, where a heavy iron lock was hanging from the outside gate. Kim steps forward, brutally breaks the gate open, and cautiously goes inside first to scan the area and check if any dark, malevolent power is lurking in the shadows. Only after making sure it's clear does he call the children inside. The house had been completely abandoned and sealed shut just like this for many years, so its physical condition was incredibly bad, covered in thick dust and decay. The very second Kim steps deeper into the house, a frantic, piercing sound starts blaring from his supernatural tracking device, signaling the heavy, suffocating presence of ghosts nearby. He grabs the salt, makes Seiya and Hajun stand close together, and draws a protective salt circle all around them so no evil entity can harm them. He looks them in the eyes and warns them, "Listen to me. If I do not come back out of this house in exactly 10 minutes, you two run straight to the car and do not come out until the sun comes up tomorrow morning." With that, he ventures deeper into the darkness to investigate. But at first, he isn't finding anything that could actually help them break the curse. But then, he discovers a section of the wall that looks completely different from the rest of the structure. He pushes at it and finds out that a hidden gate has been completely masked behind the wall. Kim forces the hidden gate open and steps inside, stumbling upon a room filled with bizarre, unsettling items. There are countless strange idols and occult objects scattered around, and just looking at it, you could tell some serious, dark magic tricks had been performed here. Right in the dead center of the room, an old-school coat was kept on display, containing strands of human hair, and it was clear some kind of powerful spell had been cast upon it. The entire atmosphere in that hidden room felt absolutely, overwhelmingly scary. Meanwhile, standing outside the circle, Seiya suddenly starts seeing the phantom spirit of that schoolgirl again. Looking at her, it truly felt as though the ghost was desperately calling out to Seiya, trying to guide her somewhere. Mesmerized, Seiya steps right out of the circle and follows behind her, while Hajun just stands there completely blind to it, completely unable to see the entity at all. The spirit glides into a dark corner of the yard and starts pointing aggressively toward the ground, as if she was frantically trying to tell Seiya a vital secret. When Seiya looks down and brushes away the dirt, she discovers an old uniform dress from their school, along with a photograph showing those exact same two girls. She calls out to Kim immediately, telling him, "Kim! The girl from my dream, she literally led me right to this photo." After gathering all the evidence, they relay every single detail back to Sohee. Sohee listens carefully, but looking at the layout and history of that house, she is left completely puzzled, unable to understand whether that old shaman was trying to save someone with her magic, or if she was trying to cast a deadly curse. Just then, Hajun gets a sudden spark of technical genius. He pulls up the metadata from Konu's wish-asking video and runs a deep digital analysis, discovering that every single one of these wish-asking videos gets uploaded into one single, hidden central server. However, the dark server can only be accessed using a highly specific, authorized user ID. The moment Saya looks at the layout and interface of that server screen, a jolt of recognition hits her. She remembers seeing that exact same computer interface on the coach's computer back in their school's athletic office. Realizing the danger, they make a bold choice and head straight to their school that very same night. As they walk, Hajun turns to Saya and asks, "Hey, do you remember? Out of the two girls in this photo, which exact one did you see in your vision?" Saya sighs and says, "Honestly, I can't remember properly, but she was definitely trying to help me, which is the only reason we managed to find this photo in the first place." Anyway, after reaching the property, Saya and Hajun quietly slip inside the school building, while Kim stays behind to wait for them outside, because that way, even if the kids get caught by security, they'll have a believable excuse for being there. The two of them sneak into the coach's dark room, boot up the system, and successfully hack into the school's main server. They begin scrolling through the endless archive of disturbing wish-asking videos, when suddenly, they click on one specific video that completely blows their minds and makes their hearts drop into their stomachs. In the video, Nari is standing on screen, recording a wish, saying, "I wish that absolute fool Choi would just die." A terrifying question instantly floods Saya's mind. If Nari was the one who asked for that fatal wish, then how on earth is she still alive right now? Because it has been way more than 24 hours since she made that wish, and the death timer should have claimed her life by now.